Perfect. I think we are live. Hi, Brian.
Hey Ryan, how you doing?
Good, thanks. We are back for round two of the recorded session. This time we are doing, for those that maybe are logging in here, I don't know, Brian Kingston is my executive coach. We've done this is our fifth session together, including a podcast, and looking forward to chat about a number of different things. But I'll let Brian maybe reintroduce himself and we'll go from there.
Yeah, well, I think, first of all, yeah, my name's Brian. I work as a coach and a facilitator of groups and teams, and also I'm a yoga and meditation teacher. And really, I think what sparked this conversation was through doing some sessions together and learning more about each other, we realized that we both been through mental health journeys. And um, it being Suicide Awareness Month, the idea was sparked of having a conversation around mental wellness and coaching and different tools and techniques to that we've both used, or maybe I use with my clients, to help foster more mental wellness within ourselves and people around us. Um, so that's what I'd be really passionate to talk about, especially considering it's Suicide Awareness Month. And I've experienced suicidal thoughts in my life, and what I've learned is something like 40% of adults have experienced those thoughts. Whereas when I had those thoughts in my life, I thought that I was an anomaly, or I thought that I was broken, or I found it really scary because I didn't understand it. And only from going through it and going to therapy, working with coaches, doing yoga and meditation, reading lots of books, um, I've learned that, oh, it's actually far more common to experience suicidal ideation, as it's called. And my understanding of my research and understanding literature on the topic is, as opposed to talking about it can actually like create the idea within people, it's the opposite. It's actually, if we can talk about it openly and non-judgmentally and reduce the stigma around it, it can actually potentially reduce the likelihood of it happening for people. Um, because a lot of the times when people go down these dark rabbit holes, we can feel very alone, isolated, like there's no way out. Whereas when we feel that there's other people that have gone through something similar, it can lessen that load somewhat. Um, and so that's what I'm really passionate about talking about. Now, the most intense time that happened for me was around COVID. And I was working for a really successful, booming tech company in Vancouver, Canada, Thinkific, amazing company. And we were working with coaches and consultants in a space that I was really passionate about. And I was a salesperson selling to coaches and consultants. And we were selling education software. And I believed I was doing something that I felt like was making a positive impact on the world, selling a software to people that was spreading education and also allowing people to grow their businesses. And we were. What I didn't realize is the habits and the lack of boundaries that I had, and sadly the lack of self-awareness led me down a rabbit hole of going through burnout. And that burnout really affected me personally. I ended up taking 3 months off work, and uh, in order to get myself back to good health. And luckily, I had an amazing family. My parents were amazing. I stayed with them back in Ireland for 3 months, and um, kind of with the time off and with the time with my family, I got better. And we can kind of unpack that if we like. But I was really ashamed that I had gone through that experience, and subsequently, 2 or 3 times since then, I went into really dark rabbit holes of depression, anxiety, and suicidal ideation. And what I realized is the habits I had and the environments that I were in and the behaviors that I was tolerating from other people was contributing to my poor mental health and low self-esteem, self-loathing, low self-worth. And what made that really difficult is I was meant to be someone that was holding space for other people. So not only did I feel shame and guilt for having all these thoughts, I have a loving family and loving friends, and I've had loving partners in the past. I also had the added guilt and shame of, well, I should have all these answers because I'm meant to be someone that's holding space for others. And what I've subsequently realized is that's also not true. Often it's people that are empathetic and compassionate and open are people that are sometimes even more susceptible to these types of feelings because we feel so deeply. So that's kind of when we spoke about this, that's what I'm passionate about talking about, and I'm trying to be more open speaking about going through these experiences, because maybe if someone listens to it and they see, oh, that guy who looks like he maybe has it all together, or maybe doesn't look like he has it all together, but at least there's another person out there who's having those thoughts and it's not the direction I have to go in. Um, that's my that would fill my heart with some meaning and purpose, that I could at least as well turn that experience into a positive experience, because I wouldn't wish going through anxiety, depression, suicidality with my worst enemy, or no matter what they've done. Um, Sleepless nights, and yeah, we can get into it, but and in saying all that, like, we can unpack the darkness, but what I would also really like to do is unpack what got me towards wellness and what I continue to do to move towards wellness. And it's not a situation of I was broken then, I'm fixed now. It's I'm a imperfect, fallible human being who's made many mistakes in their life, and doing my best to learn from those and grow and move forward. So there's a lot there. But maybe I'll just take a pause.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Ron. Yeah, it's not easy to talk about, uh, especially a sensitive topic such as mental health, and it being Suicide Prevention Month. I believe it's a green ribbon, green ribbon
Yeah,
month.
I actually don't know the details. I've just seen lots of people sharing on social media that Suicide Awareness Month, Suicide Prevention Month. So, yeah,
Yeah, and I think it's a really great statistic saying that 40% of all it was Irish people go through
um,
suicide ideation at some point in their life.
to be honest, I don't know where I saw or heard that, but
Yeah,
I know seeing that gave me a lot of solace.
yeah. I think the doctor mentioned. I don't want to make this, but over the last 4 years, I've kind of been on a break for my health, and I was an outpatient in a day hospital and the doctor mentioned that the same stat. So I don't. Yeah, it just kind of just came to me there.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's really. I think a lot of people go through it. Mental health and particularly suicide. Don't mean to. This may be a very sensitive topic, and kind of don't want to. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, so I don't want to open about it too much.
Yeah, and I work as a coach, so I'm not a clinician, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a doctor. Uh, and if I'm working with someone and I see signs or symptoms of really dark suicidal ideation or any sniff of it, I'll refer them on to a mental health professional. But like, insurance companies call the work that I do like preclinical. So maybe we can create awareness and catch people in the early stages of when they're experiencing struggling with their mental health or having challenges, so that it doesn't get so severe to the point where they need professional help, like clinical professional help. So that's where I see my role in this. Um, and just as a 34-year-old man, men traditionally in Western society, and in Ireland in particular, have been very poor at speaking about our emotions. And the why behind that, we're a post-colonial nation, so speaking too much could have got us in trouble when the British were occupying here for hundreds of years. Um, Also, we had the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church, while I believe spirituality and Jesus was a very good dude and was potentially God, what the Catholic Church have done in terms of suppressing us in so many ways, I think also contributed to our emotional stuntedness and our lack of ability to express ourselves in safe places. I mean, we went from under the British Empire to the Catholic Church basically running this country in schools and in churches, and then the confessional box where lots of people went to speak about issues they were having, particularly children, were then sexually abused. So I see why we haven't expressed ourselves emotionally as men in particular. And I'm very passionate about that needing to change because from traveling all over the world, living in Canada for 5 years, going through the HSE, understanding self harm training, and going through my coaching training, is there's so many things that we can do both personally and as a society to help prevent people taking their own lives. And and uh, and one of the things we can do is by speaking about it more openly.
Yeah, yeah, I agree, and I think the in Finland, the World Happiness Report, I think they're number one in the world at the moment, and a big reason for that is I think they created policy. I must double check around chatting, talking about suicide a bit more openly. Uh, there's also the sauna and other things that Finland have created or come out of Finland, but I think that's one of the main things that has got them to number one in the world is policy around suicide. I must double check here or triple check myself. I don't want to make.
Yeah, we
I don't
can
want.
we can put links. We can put links to maybe fact checking things that we say in the show notes of this or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
I'll do
and
my best to figure out different articles and
yeah, and I think it's
yeah,
also important to mention there's lots of resources out there like Pieta House, um, Samaritans. I wear their wristband here. Like there's a number that you can call if you're ever struggling and feel like there's nowhere to go. So there's lots of resources in Ireland and around the world that you can go to, and I've used these hotlines before when I felt like there was nowhere else to turn, which is a you know um, difficult thing to say because I think of my loving parents, I think of my loving sister, I think of friends and family, and I'm sad to think that it had to get to a point where I had to speak to someone impartial. But there was a beauty of speaking to someone impartial, and that's where therapy has been massive for me. Um, Counseling and psychotherapy, because I've had a safe space with which to describe my inner world and someone that can hold space for me non judgmentally to unpack some of the reasons why I might have gotten to those dark places.
yeah. Appreciate that, Brian. It's very and also I don't think we in recently anyway. I don't think we put enough emphasis. We've gone through a global pandemic, so and there's been. I don't want to touch upon this too much, but we were like in Ireland anyway, kind of locked down for
Yeah, well,
a period of time.
it was a massive um, catalyst for me to go through what I went through because I was living on my own. I was working online every day. It was the third lockdown that really just broke me. I was feeling so burnt out on my job, and I was living thousands of miles away from a lot of friends and family, even though I had really nice friends and family in Vancouver. But it was that cocktail of isolation, losing passion and interest in my work, and feeling like I had nowhere to turn. That was a dangerous cocktail all mixed into one. Now, there's a beauty in that as well because I think what the pandemic did for me and a lot of people I've talked to is allowed me to recalibrate and think what's important in my life. And they were things like spending time with loved ones, doing work that's meaningful to me, um, filling my day with things that are joyful and meaningful and and health giving. Um, Subsequently, it's meant giving up alcohol. Uh, it's meant spending time with people who I feel like see me for me and not having to put on a mask around certain people. And that's been really difficult because it's meant I've had to kind of gravitate towards other people in my life and maybe move away from some people. And that's been really hard. And when I felt like I expressed the challenges I had in relationships and those people weren't willing to change their behavior, well, then I had to remove myself from those situations. And that's an ongoing process. And there's always room for repair. I have a mentor that says that to me, which I really like. Um, or a friend of mine said, "There's always room on the bus for those people. I just don't have to drag them on the bus with me. They can join me when they like."
Yeah,
So yeah, like I kind of feel like where I'm meandering around the topic, but I hope that there's some useful notes in there for people to pick up on.
definitely, definitely. And I think on a personal note, similar to yourself, Brian, when I was going through a phase of ideation or when I was going through some tough times, I used some of the hotlines or the messages. I think Pieta House, you mentioned the band on your wrist is the
Yeah, this is Samaritans, and then the other one's Pieta
Smartens.
House.
And yeah, there's a number of other. I haven't done Darkness into Light yet. Is that a Pieta? That's Pieta
Yeah,
House.
that's Uneda Pieta House. Yeah, and for
Yeah.
anybody listening, that's a sunrise walk um, every year in Ireland. That brings people together in the community and also raises awareness for Pieta House and raises money for Pieta House and also starts amazing conversations. Like this year on Darkness into Light, I met up with two friends in Bray in front of Catalyst Coffee on the seafront in Bray in County Wicklow in Ireland. And a lot of emotions were coming up for me as I was driving there. And as I was thinking of a family member who took their own life, and that made me really emotional. And it brought up how real it was for me. And actually, I've had multiple people in my wider family to take their own life now that I speak about it. And then I arrived and I met my friend and I burst into tears. I just felt the grief of a lost loved one come up in me. And my friend held a beautiful space, gave me a really big hug. And I did that thing where I was like, "I'm so sorry, I'm crying," or whatever. But actually, what Darkness into Light did for me was it gave me space to feel that grief. And then it made me think of my own journey through mental health. And that allowed me to feel that grief and that sadness as well. And we did a 5K run. We came back to Catalyst Coffee and we went in. So we swam in the sea. So we went in for a coffee and there was a DJ set playing in the morning for a coffee.
Oh wow.
And they're now one of my favourite bands. I saw them live at Beyond the Pale Festival. And they sing partly in Irish, partly in English. And we were raving. I was jumping around the coffee shop because I felt such a lightness after leaving go of that cry and like expressing some of that grief. And then it was beautiful to have, I don't even know, do they know what they were doing, but they must have, that this kind of heightened energy around coffee, sober, not around alcohol. It felt like such a healthy way to release a lot of that energy somatically through my body as well by just dancing and having fun. And I was on such a high for hours after it. And I didn't go home. I went to another coffee shop and saw lots of other friends in Greystones. And I remember sitting outside of my parents' house and I wrote uh, a little post that I put on my Instagram and my LinkedIn. That is probably one of the most popular, I think the most popular post I've done on both profiles, sharing a bit about my story. And that was also powerful for me because I also came out as someone who's experienced those thoughts and feelings. So that container of Pieta House putting on Darkness into Light every year did so much for me, both as a person who's had family members who've taken their own lives, both from me who's experienced anxiety, depression, and um, suicidal ideation, and then gave me a beautiful space to feel and heal it, and then also to express it to others as well. And I think that is a beautiful example of what we're trying to do here, is have another conversation around that topic.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
maybe creates that space for someone else, or just allows us to speak about it more openly.
yeah. It's not easy to talk about these things, and for anyone listening, this people may have these conversations or may not have these conversations in private. So, and even if they're in the workplace or in the offices or at home, it's tough to know where to turn to. I'd love to maybe, now, in saying that, as someone that's maybe we've, I'd love to maybe practical steps. Now, I'm not a doctor or anything
Yeah,
for.
well, I have some practical steps, and this is from, like, I took our public health service, the HSE's training on self-harm and practical steps. Talk to somebody. So there's these hotlines that are free, Samaritans, Pieta House, there's a few others, so you can talk to those people. Talking to someone in your life. I guarantee there's people in your life that would prefer getting that phone call than getting a very different phone call. So that could be friends or family, could be colleagues, could be a mental health professional. Now, it's important for that person to be a safe space. So someone in your life who you trust, who can listen non-judgmentally, who can have an empathetic or compassionate ear. And sometimes that's hard to find, I understand. But finding someone to speak about it is very important. Then seeking professional help. So emergency rooms in hospitals, therapists, psychologists can be massive. Being around people who you know and trust that can sit with you during that very difficult time. They're amazing steps that can be taken and that I've taken. Substance use around these difficult emotions can be a really easy out for people, like drugs and alcohol, in order to numb some of those feelings. But my encouragement for people is, if you feel the urge to use a substance to numb that feeling, talk to somebody first. Because when we have substances on board, that can allow us to make decisions where we're not in our sober senses. So there
Yeah,
are some steps that people can take, and there's a plethora more that out there, and maybe we can share more. But they're the first things that come to mind for me.
definitely, definitely, and yeah, even from my own personal experience, the reaching out to someone when I was going through it, I read an article. Yeah, maybe I won't talk about the name of the article. It was how to not. Maybe I will mention it. I'm just conscious that this is a podcast in a public space, so I'm
Yeah,
just
and this is your show as well,
yeah,
so I encourage you to only share what you feel comfortable sharing,
yeah,
and you also don't have to either. And I think that's a really important aspect of this whole healing journey, is tapping into ourselves and understanding, what do I feel comfortable sharing? What am I not quite ready to share? What might I never share? And I used to think that being a really open book to everybody was a virtue. And what I've learned to protect my own energy is that I want to share and open up with people who I feel safe with, who will keep it confidential, who will approach me non-judgmentally with a compassionate ear. Um, so I think just tapping into your hesitation around saying that, I think that brings up a really interesting point, is tapping into ourselves of what do we feel comfortable
yeah,
divulging. And a friend of mine shared with me something amazing recently, is, as a person who holds safe space for others, it's important to share from our scars, not from our wounds. So it's been quite a long time now since I've experienced intense suicidal ideation. So I feel like I have enough distance from it so that I can share in a more public setting. And I have enough resources in my life to do that as well. if I ever feel myself going down a darker path, I have those resources to reach out to. And that's where I think that might be a good thing to focus on now is what are some resources I have now that I've built or that people can build when they start coming back to health that can, or when they feel like they're slipping down a familiar road that could be useful to them.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Maybe I will mention the article's name. It was "How to Not Kill Yourself When You Want to Kill Yourself," and the bottom of the article it mentioned to reach out to a friend, and that's what I did. Just the one, kind of the one step was just reached out to friends when I was at that low point on
Well done.
WhatsApp. And
Well done.
thanks, man.
Well done. Well done. And what happened then?
Thankfully, it was a Sunday night at around 11 p.m. and they picked up the phone. They got on a call with me. One of them was in Dubai, one of them was in London, and I know it could have been anyone, but I just thought about reaching out to those two close friends, and yeah, they were great. I just couldn't stop crying. Just like tears were just. I was just emotionally very sensitive.
Yeah,
Around.
all that is trapped in our body. And when we're with a safe person, we feel safe to release that.
Yeah,
And I love that you reached out to those people. It doesn't matter where the feck they are. Sometimes it's great if they're in a different time zone because we might be calling at an ungodly hour, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
And I do believe that deep down we know who those people are, who we can call on. So well done. Well done.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks a million. And I just want to touch upon, we were chatting about it offline, is a journal that I use called a 5 minute journal. I don't get paid to chat about this. I thought I'd just mention that it's not sponsored the show or anything, but I've been using it. I used to use it in 2018, 2017, and it's the simplest, most effective thing you can do every day to be happier. And I think it has some evidence. It's evidence based. There's some references in the back, and it's great. It takes 5 minutes. I just talk about what I'm grateful for in life, what will make today great, some daily affirmations, three amazing things that happened today. How could I have made today even better? And has a quote at the top. So yeah, it's
Beautiful.
really great tool that I've used over the last maybe last 60 days. And I know I just thought I'd mention it because we were talking about it offline before we hopped on.
Yeah, I know. It reminds me of Tim Ferriss, the famous podcaster and like life hacker. I've been following him for years, and I remember probably 10 or 15 years ago because he has a very famous TED talk where he speaks about in university and having a plan to take his own life and getting a book out from the library. And mistakenly, the book was sent to his parents, so his mother called him, and that's what saved him. And it's a very famous TED talk. Um, and
Fear setting is the exercise thing, isn't it?
yeah, then he talks about fear setting, but the other exercise that I really like is the jar of awesome, where you just have a jar in your room or your office, and you get little post-it notes and write down some awesome things that are happening in your life or some things you're grateful for, and you put it in that jar. So then, when you're at your low points, you can take it out and read it, or even to me, seeing that jar full is even a useful mnemonic, a useful memory tool to remind myself that there is a lot going well, even when it feels like there's a lot that's not going well.
Yeah, yeah. And I think we have a mutual friend maybe that said something similar to me in a sauna in Greystones. I don't know. I don't know if I mention his name. I don't know if permission to. I think he'll know who it is, and I can give him the credits after. He's a creator online, and he mentioned that if you zoom out far enough, you're always making progress.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. If you're zooming out far enough, you're always making progress. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, I just mentioned to him that I felt like things are just spinning my wheels. Things weren't going well, and I was moving kind of side to side, and just kind of. And he mentioned to me in the sauna that, excuse me, that yeah, if you zoom out far enough, you're always making progress.
So it feels to me like we've touched on lots of points here, both in our personal stories and useful little tidbits. As I say that now, I remember it would be nice to go into the health and wellness habits
Yeah.
away from the awareness piece and the action piece when someone finds himself in a situation that's difficult, then like about creating wellness in their life. Um, for me, having a merry band of friends and family who know me very well and who I trust with my life, literally. So if I'm going through a difficult day, I can pick up the phone and call them or text them, or they'll often reach out to me saying, "How are you?" And I'm that person for other people as well. Um, and I cherish that position. A friend texted me recently, randomly, early in the morning, "Hey, can I call you?" And I was like, "Absolutely, yes." So I have friends, family, my therapist. So there's people that I can call on if I'm going through something really difficult. I can express that, and even my housemates are really good for that. Secondly, then I decided to stop drinking alcohol because I found that I would be fucking anxious and depressed for days afterwards. Um, and I'm a very sensitive person, and I drank for like 10 years, 15 years since probably my first drink was probably 15 or 16 years old. And it's so endemic in Irish culture. It's so interwoven into the fabric of our culture. It's so hard to break away from that. But what I found is um, doing things like the sauna, sea swims, run clubs, uh, like high rocks and gym things, yoga, meditation is I find I get amazing social outlet without it having to be around alcohol. Which means when it comes to a Friday or Saturday night, I'm not getting that pining feeling of trying to spend time with people or needing that social outlet and having to go to the pub because I've had that social outlet in non-alcohol fueled environments. And I find that so beneficial. Then when it gets to Friday or Saturday, I'm usually spent and I'm like, geez, I need time on my own, you know? Um, so implementing those healthy habits for me, and like, I don't think I'm coming across this, but like, it's not a pious thing. It's, oh, well, I enjoy the run clubs because I get to spend time with my friends and we have a lovely chat and we're in nature and we usually swim in the sea afterwards. And then we have a lovely coffee. Um, so there's social, there's exercise, I'm moving my body, um, there's good crack, there's laughing. Um, like since going through all of that difficult things with my mental health, I've found I actually can access deeper levels of joy and fun and creativity, especially when I'm sober, which before I needed a substance to unlock. And that's been one of the gifts of this experience is actually it's deepened me emotionally. I have more compassion for others. Um, so yeah, and it it brought me 5 years ago into the coaching consulting space, which is something I always wanted to do and talked about doing. And maybe I just needed that little kick to actually go and do something. And I earn way less than I earned in tech sales. Um, I have a vision, and I'm starting to see the trickles of me building a life that's even more wealthy than I was before. But my values are so different. It's when I wake up in the morning, do I feel like I'm doing something meaningful with my day? Um, I live a lot more of a simpler lifestyle than I do now than I was making when I was making like hundreds of grand a year selling software. But at the end of the day, I don't have that emptiness feeling that I did when I was doing something. And that was nothing to do with the company or the people I was working with. That was working as aligned with my values. And that's what I'm passionate about helping people with in my job is how can my clients access 1% more of that feeling of being more aligned to themselves in their work and their life. And I believe Gabor Mate says this, Jim Carrey says this, um, like depression and anxiety can often come when we're living a life not aligned with ourselves, not in our authentic path. And Anita Morjani talks about this in her book when she had a near death experience after experiencing cancer. Authenticity can be a route to health. Um, Now, that can be a difficult path because we may be people pleasing all our lives. We may want to please our parents in the path that we go down. But actually, there's such beautiful things to be found in a life that's more authentic to ourselves. And I'm still uncovering that now. No way am I a finished article. I'll probably never be. Um, yeah, I notice myself speaking very passionately about this, but I am passionate about it because I've seen how dark it can get, and I've seen what it can be like to not feel like there's any way out. And I'm also on the other side of it being like, yeah, there's been super challenges since then, but wow, the deep laughter I felt, the connection with nature, the connection with loved ones, the connection in relationships with animals and pets. So, yeah, I hope that something there lands for somebody that's listening to this, or it's useful for someone. This is another thing. I was giving a talk recently to 140 sales staff about wellness, traveling on the road as a salesperson, because my background corporate world is like 15 years of sales and marketing. And now I'm doing a contract at the moment where I'm doing a wellness talk for people that are in the sales industry. And one of the directors of sales came up to me afterwards and was like, someone in my life is experiencing suicidality at the moment. And I'm really glad you shared so vulnerably about what you did. And there's probably people listening to this who have people in their lives that they're worried about. So, what can you do if you're worried about someone in your life? Be with them, sit with them, try to approach the situation non judgmentally, listen to them. You may not understand what they're going through. You may have judgments around decisions they've made in their life, but it's not their fault what they're going through. And by you being just a non judgmental, compassionate ear, not offering advice, not offering answers, just listening to someone can be so powerful. Like the friends you had where you got that emotional release that you needed.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it takes a village. It's not easy. I'd love to say that overcoming those tough times that you go through in life or hard times, um, it's easy to say that, uh, it will pass eventually. I think the big point, not the big point, but for me, kind of reflecting on what I've been through for 4 years now, it's that aspect of never giving up. I was chatting to someone, and even the darkest hour or those darkest moments, just never giving up is uh, there is hope, even when there's no light. You feel like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. There is a way. There's always a way. You
Yeah,
just need to understand that. Yeah, just to never give up. Yeah.
like I'll give you an insight into my story if you like.
Yeah, yeah. Let's do it. Sorry, I got kind of sidetracked there.
That
Just
was
kind of got
that was
yeah,
beautiful. That was
yeah,
beautiful what you just said. It sparked this in me. I remember lying in bed with my beautiful partner at the time and our dog. She was a therapist. Her parents were therapists. I had just set up my own business and I was really struggling financially and my savings were running out. And I went to apply for jobs, but I knew deep down that I wanted to pursue this path. And I saw, in order for me to pursue this path of a life and a career that I was passionate about, I needed to move home to Ireland and move back in with my parents. And I knew that this relationship needed to end because sadly, I didn't see a future in the relationship. And I felt so guilty for feeling that. And I fought that decision for weeks and weeks and weeks, for months and months and months, until I started waking up in the middle of the night and I started to ruminate on how the fuck am I gonna get through this? I don't want to break up my partner because she's a fabulous person. Her parents are fabulous people that are listening to me, and I don't want to leave them. I have this beautiful apartment. I have all these amazing friends. For me to leave this life, I don't see how that would happen. I would have to hurt so many people to make this decision. My partner, her parents, my friends. But 6 weeks of waking up in the middle of the night, where then I lost sleep altogether. And so for 3 or 4 weeks, I didn't sleep a wink. And that just broke me. That just going through every day, I was a zombie. I couldn't eat properly. I had no motivation. I was like walking through a cloud, walking through a fog. And in fairness, like I did open up and I did speak about it a lot, but like it still was really hard because I was fighting this decision that I knew I had to make. And sadly, I let it get to a point where it was so severe where I was having multiple ideas of suicide on a daily basis because I was just so looking for some respite to all of that inner turmoil. And really, when someone is looking for an escape through taking their own life, they're looking for an escape because they don't see a way out. Now, me sitting here 5 years beyond on, yeah, there was a way out. I ended up moving back in with my parents. I ended up breaking up that relationship. Friends of mine came and helped move all my stuff. I went to the doctor. I got medication. Um, I took time off work. I just got my sleep back in order. Um, I went for walks with my dad every single day. He was amazing. He listened to me, talked to me on the phone all the time, went for loads of walks with me. Like there were so many people in my life that meant that I survived. And it's bringing up a lot for me now saying that about my dad because we often don't see eye to eye as well. And I'm so grateful to him for all those phone conversations in the middle of the night and all those walks.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and if I have a son, I would want to do that for my son if they were going through a difficult time. So I didn't see a way out. Of course, there was a way out. Yeah, there was some collateral damage in relationships, but I know deep down that any of those people that I was afraid of hurting would prefer to be hurt by me removing myself from their lives than me removing the life from myself. And I think that's the most powerful message is I realized I was so scared of letting down everybody around me that I was willing to not be on this planet anymore. And that's what's led me on this journey to be way more selfish with myself because at the end of the day, I'm the only one that's going to look after myself. So I've had to put things in place that allow me to do that. And so, yeah, there's a lot there, but I just wanted to give you an insight into my scenario because sometimes we could be talking around the houses and and I feel ready to share that. Um, and I've been in therapy intensely for the last couple of years. I have amazing friends, my sister, cousins, aunties, uncles. Um, but as you said, it takes a village.
yeah, yeah. It's definitely. I'd love to say it's in hindsight. I'd love to say I thought it'd be similar to your, and thank you for sharing all that. By the way, Brian, it's
Right.
not easy to open up about things, especially in a setting like a podcast, like a public setting, and other people listening. But I think there's a lot to take away from this conversation, especially around the green ribbon. Let me just double check. I think it's. I just want to make sure that it's correct. Green.
Yeah, I hope as you're looking up that, yeah, I just hope that either someone listening to this gets the message or gets a message for a loved one. Um, or even if someone's just feeling a little bit down and they don't know where to turn to know that there is places you can go. Um, and yeah, like it doesn't have to be someone on the brink. It can be anybody experiencing sadness or grief or loneliness or lack of belonging or lack of connection. Like,
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. And just it says here, I looked it up on Google, I think, and it says a green ribbon is an international symbol for mental health awareness used to promote open conversations, reduce stigma, and show solidarity with those affected by mental health.
well, I hope we've done that in our conversation
Yeah,
today.
yeah, likewise. Yeah, yeah. I think we've touched upon most things, and I think though, if there's one big takeaway, Brian, if you don't mind, what do you think it could be for maybe people listening? If there's one thing, if they're sitting at home listening, if they're out walking, or if they're in the office, if they're in the gym, what's the maybe one big takeaway you think they can?
Pick up the phone and share with someone that you're struggling. If you don't have access to a phone, tell someone you're struggling. Preferably someone you trust, someone you know, if you can find someone like that, there's hotlines there that are free. But the the path through is in beginning to share, and there's no shame in it because so many people experience it, and sadly, it's been a part of many people's lives. And yeah, the destruction afterwards, someone takes their life. I've seen it firsthand. It's not pretty, and it leaves people wondering, and all these things. So that's what I would recommend. Talk to someone.
Yeah, thanks for that, Brian. I'm just conscious of time now, coming up on the
Yeah, I
50-minute
think that's a
mark.
nice
So
nice place to start wrapping up.
yeah, yeah, and just as well, I know that you have a number of services. If I don't want to make this about, I
Yeah,
want
but
to make
look,
sure that we're giving more than we're giving here. But if anyone would like to contact you in relation to maybe mental wellness or speaking upon these things, I don't want to. Where would they go? Because I know it is the Green Ribbon Month, and you've the qualifications to chat about these, like the I don't
yeah,
know.
like I think we've mentioned so many places where people can go. Hotlines, Pieta House, Samaritans,
Yeah,
therapy, friends and family. Um, Absolutely, I would love to be a safe space for anybody going through what they're going through. Uh, I would likely direct you to someone that can help, and I would definitely listen to you. I mean, you can find me on Instagram or LinkedIn under Brian Kingston. My company's called Solace Wellness. Um, and just to make it crystal clear, like, think, yeah, like I get paid to give talks around wellness, but like, if someone is in the brink and they come in my contact, it's my professional responsibility to listen and to learn, and also to direct you towards places where you can get professional help. Uh, so I just want to make that crystal clear because I'm not a therapist. Spaces I hold can be therapeutic, um, but it is aligned to the work that I do. So yeah, if people are looking for, like, I do coaching around mental wellness, around general wellness. Often it's intersected with career and life alignment. Um, I also do a lot of corporate talks in this area. Um, so yeah, like professionally, if people for looking at me, there's places where people can find me. And if someone's going through anything that we've talked about and they feel like they've nowhere to go, absolutely they can come to me in any of those platforms. Um, and yeah, that's it.
yeah, brilliant, Brian. And just again, for just that one big takeaway is if you are struggling to pick up the phone, or just you mentioned to reach out to someone.
Yeah, and if you could do me a favor and add those numbers and websites to wherever this goes online, and to
Yeah,
whatever social media that this gets shared to.
yeah, will do. It was the perfect.
Yeah, we can talk about it afterwards.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. Thanks for listening, folks, and um, hopefully that this. Yeah, I think I'll just. Yeah, I think I'll just. Yeah. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Ryan.